So, the final location of Amirdrassil has apparently been confirmed to be the Dragon Isles. Now, I'm not really sure why this is news, because this is exactly what I did expect, but let's see what's going on.
Because we knew it from 10.0's beta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do like how from Chief Wrangler of the News, Dakor, he has placed here the title, "Is this the beginning of the end for Night Elves?" Portergage tweeted... What a surprise. Interesting little map change in 10.2. Despite being in a different phase, the new landmass for the Emerald Dream shows on the open world Iron Plains map. Could be for gameplay clarity. I would kind of expect that. Feels a bit misleading. Could be potentially for future story. I tried to find reasons not to assume Amirdrassil is going to be in the Dragon Isles, but between all the NPC gossip, conspicuous way in which the 10.2 click-in is designed not to overlap with any of the open water, and now this, it's seemingly more and more likely. There's just a tweet from Ian Bates, Red Shirt Guy, that just says, in sort of plain text, "The worst storyline I was ever done." This seems like a fun thread to read. Man, I think I'm going to do it.
Go for it.
I'm just going to bloody read the thread. I won't say too much, as it's technically still speculation at this point, but looking all but confirmed now, the Night Elves leaving Kalimdor to make a new home on the opposite side of the world is one of the worst possible resolutions to this storyline, which is already the worst storyline in World of Warcraft. Putting their home and relocating all the refugees there when it's on the other side of the world doesn't give me much hope that they'll have the Night Elves still living on Kalimdor beyond some cursory references, like saying the Draenei were still working to restore their home on Outland alongside the Exodar, but, never show that in the game or reference it ever again. Portergage said, "There is no reason to assume malice where incompetence is much more logical." Yes, definitely true. The writers pretty much think what they're doing is genuinely cool. Lamau. They're not going to write 6 years of story with constant monetary investments solely because they hate certain players. That's true. Ian says, "I think it's more that Blizzard doesn't like Night Elves in the just don't find them interesting way, or specifically the Alliance ones, like the neutral Druid stuff, the old Highborn stuff, hence them continuing to use that stuff in neutral content distance from the player ones, so kind of like distance from the player factions. The rest of the Night Elves, I think they just don't find it all that compelling, so they have trouble writing them in a way that connects with players." I mean, I do think that's true in many cases.
It's almost certainly true where they have their own ideas for them and just don't want to engage with what they actually are. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe they do want to engage with them and just don't understand it because they aren't coming from the same headspace and they aren't coming from the same place of where the original Night Elf stories come from, because they have, they project their own meaning on top of what was existing there, as opposed to, actually sitting down and going, well, okay, what do players think of the Night Elves? What is it they liked about the Night Elves? Because I think in some capacity, looking at the War of the Thorns, looking at the Darkshore Warfront, they at least had some idea, right? Mm. They had some idea of, well, they did like when they killed the shit out of dudes in Warcraft 3.
And Darkshore didn't have to end with, it's completely destroyed and they can never go back.
Oh, it did, because that's edgy and real, and because very little long-term thought seems to go into some of these things.
I think actually, especially at that time, some of that was peak. Alex has lost his fucking marbles. Big alco like.
Or something along those lines. Because it is just, it's like Ian says there, it's true they're trying a lot with Tyrande lately, but every attempt at showing any positive for the Nels in this focus lands so off the mark or confused, comes off, at least to me, that they're trying but don't like, again, not in a hate or malicious way. Night Elves enough to get people to like or understand what they want. And again, it's just, what's my interpretation of this? Yeah, Dragonite, how do I interpret this? Screw those who came before. It feels a little bit of that, where just, they want to do their own thing, and they want to tell their subversive stories. Because I feel like that the sacrifice that the Night Elves have been making for the past while isn't actually a sacrifice. It's actually just been destroyed. Mm-hmm. It's a subversion of the heroic sacrifices they made before. And I don't want to say that's like, I think that might just be what they find interesting. And this is awful because I don't want to turn around and be like, well, there's a discipline of writers who adore Subversion, but don't understand that Subversion only works when the subversion itself is satisfying or shocking in a way that works. And that it's ultimately dissatisfying, and you have to work around with that and play with it. But I feel like there's a school of writers today who just adore subversion and change, as opposed to respecting themes in their own existing rights. At least that's what it feels like to me when it comes to Night Elves. And that's a pretty like wide way to talk around. Just been like, I don't like this, and I don't think many people like this. And I think that's just the developers or the writers just don't have the capacity to put in the stuff that would make this satisfying in any way. Because there's a way to sell Subversion, but you have to actually sell the thing. It's understand the rules and then break them. But all they've been doing is breaking rules.
Yeah, that's the right way to put it.
Yeah, that's effectively what it always feels to me. Where that and not understanding the impact of what they do in its entirety, which might be a little bit of the no negativity in the dojo idea coming back to light, where someone goes, what if we grew a new tree in the Dragon Isles? And then everyone stands up and goes, and this is literally completely made up in my head, and I probably shouldn't say it, but you can imagine, those really weird, like, weird American movie retreats where everyone goes and it's all super hyper fake positivity and the characters are losing their mind, all stuff, and it's just like everyone, like they're all sitting around. It's like when someone passes the ball to you, you tell them what you liked about their idea, and it feels like there's a little bit of that where it's just, okay, well, what do you like about if the Amirdrassil was on the Dragon Isles? And someone stands up and goes, well, actually, and then an alarm goes off, and then they're taken out the back and shot. That's what it feels like to me, because you immediately ask anyone and go, well, what about Kalimdor? But I feel like no one went, what about Kalimdor? I think everyone went, well, what if we just circle jerk about how smart and how cool and thematic it is for the Night Elves and their historic allyship with the Green Dragons, which they also used to kill the shit out of each other in Warcraft 3. So, good one. Obviously, they had their allyship as well, but it's like, no, well, what does that mean for those people? And they got yes and ho from the thick of it. That's exactly what I was actually imagining, but I forgot that's what it was from. It was the yes and ho, which is they passed along a ball and they all just unanimously agreed with an idea. So it was very much like, it's just not thinking that through, or maybe they thought it through, but that didn't come to the surface and was buried under all the, well, here's the good reasons it works. Here's all the happy ideas. Here's all the good stuff. Amirdrassil, they'd be so friends with the dragons, and then the dream could be close, and etc., etc., etc. And yes, like sometimes you need to go, no, this is not a good idea. And I think that's more or less it in a way, where they got so wrapped up in what makes it good. And I'm like, that's not like that's a feeling, but it's an understandable feeling. It's not necessarily like they've completely destroyed, they're completely utterly useless at their job. If you get caught up in the good parts of an idea without noticing the bad, because that can happen, especially when you're halfway through doing it or a little bit way through it. You could just kind of get lost in especially under a tight deadline. It can be, well, I could rework this, but I don't have time. Yeah. So we have to go ahead, especially when it comes to something this is a Amirdrassil, this is a major patch, this is multiple cinematics, this is tied together to the ultimate finale of Dragonflight, as far as we understand, where all the aspects get their power back under the embrace and stuff. And you go, well, that's clearly extremely high budget, so that needs to be decided a long time ago. And that probably needed to be decided pretty quick. And then they went, right, well, we need to finish pre-production quick and get stuff done. What's this patch? What's this expansion ended on? The new world tree is growing on the Dragon Isles. And everyone went, right, off to work, full speed. And there's not really a huge amount could be done about that. But I think it being there sucks. It being there sucks in a billion ways, because it's not their home. It leaves Kalimdor open to Horde military supremacy in no uncertain terms. What does it mean for the Draenei and Exeter? Well, they're a sitting duck, so they have to leave as well. If the Horde decide to push up there. Or they lose their connection to the people there.
And the thing is, like, if I think about the character that I have played since Wrath, it's been a Draenei. Or at least for many. Actually, no, it's not the character I play right now because I stopped maining Hunter. But it's the same way. Like, if you do major... Like, one of the things, if you play a Druid, 10.2 is genuinely a good patch to return for. There's a lot of Druid shit. There's, like, you want different Druid forms and cool stuff and not a legendary weapon. None of those, Matt, sorry. But if you want lots of other really cool Druid things, like, that's great. And that's an example of, like... and hey, if you like Night Elves, it still is a broadly good patch because you do get to go around in the forest and do Night Elf things.
Oh, you eat good as hell.
Yeah.
As long as you don't viciously hit Lady Moonberry. But yeah.
Yeah, we're just frustrated about, like, the big direction, you know, and what it's sort of all leading to, because it still is kind of following in some, you know, less good directions. But, like, the idea, you're a Night Elf Druid, this is a perfect patch for you. Well, that makes me think, if you were to have some Draenei stuff, some Draenei and Night Elf stuff happen, can you imagine if the Draenei and Night Elves, like, teamed up to fix the place?
You know
Wouldn't that be great?
You know the image of the dude in the lawn chair with, like, 3 plates? That'd be me. That would be me.
That'd be so good.
Yep. And that's the thing where
give me an excuse to go back to Azure Mist Isle. I love that place. With its fucking super relaxing music. You know? Give me a reason. I'll come back. It's just that thing of, like, yeah, we're moving the Night Elves away from Kalimdor. It's like, have you forgotten
the whole history of your setting?
yeah, I think you captured what I would have said in more words.
Yeah. Have you forgotten that the continent of Kalimdor was once almost entirely theirs? Did you forget that they sacrificed that continent's very existence to save the world from the Legion? Did you forget that they lost half their lands under the sea and they actually still managed to make their way from Ashara, where they set up, all the way across Ashenfield, all the way across the Darkshore? All that stuff that they actually did and had a small amount of the Kalimdor to themselves after, and they protected it fiercely, and it was their ancestral homeland for 10,000 years, and they shaped it in their own image, and they built beautiful things and entirely forged a new form of architecture there as well, because the old architecture was the high elven stuff, but then they moved to, like, the more, obviously, the Korean and Japanese inspired stuff as far as World of Warcraft was concerned. They moved to, and Warcraft as well. They moved to all of that.
No, renewal, Matt. Renewal somewhere else. Because I was kind of thinking, renewal. I see what they're going to do. They're going to go to the ravaged parts from the big war, and they're maybe going to turn their energies to something positive. No, it's like, and then the writers forgot about Darkshore.
That's the thing where they've done so much damage that resolving that damage, I wouldn't trust them to do without it feeling like a cop-out. And that's the problem, because
That's why Metzen...
Yeah.
That's why Metzen genuinely gives some people hope.
Yeah, and that's why I don't want to have them make it a cop-out, because I would feel bad. But it leaves them in a really dark position, because what do you do? Well, the only way to not make it a cop-out is to do it slowly and securely and safely, but they can't do that because they're going 47 billion miles an hour with their story at all times.
That's what's been crazy to me. Like, and again, it comes out in that narrative video I'm putting up tomorrow or something. They have really BFA'd it again. The only difference is we don't have a final patch. That is some old god weird thing. But I mean BFA'd it in terms of speed. Like, whoa. You know?
Yeah, exact same problem.
Yeah, it's like, we talked about that lore Q&A earlier, and so much of why those answers felt tone deaf, or like felt like they weren't acknowledging what was really going on within the game, is because none of the connective tissue was there. None of the work to show instead of tell was done. And that is just because the story is a victim of this content cadence. And I think Blizzard, like, they under-index how important the story and the lore is. And it's not because, everyone in the game is a lore nut. It's because you want to feel like, the backdrop that you're kind of, the backdrop, and what all your gameplay is kind of happening is cool. It's just big and cool. There's cool things going on. And I think their relentless pursuit of, like, new season, content, Dream Surges, let's go. They're like the relentless pursuit of that. If it means that they cannot have a coherent feeling and experience, setting. Because yes, it may be coherent logically per the bullet points in the minds of the writers, or the bullet points that are on the Wikipedia or the Wowpedia, whatever. It needs to be coherent in experience, and people will enjoy that even if they don't care about the lore, because it makes the setting better. It's a better place to be in, and ultimately that is why WoW had so many people who didn't give a shit about the quest text, didn't read any of that, but still loved being the world pieces.